Yes, after Total War Rome, after Alien Isolation, after Company of Heroes, and after XCOM 2, okay, that last one did actually make a lot of sense, Feral are back with Total War Medieval 2. Yes, that Medieval 2. You know, the one that everyone has been begging to be released on mobile for years now. Okay, jokes aside, following Feral's first attempt at porting Total War to phones, I guess this isn't too much of a surprise. On its own though, it still seems insane that a complex PC strategy game like Medieval 2 would be a plausible game to play on your phone. But if Feral have proved one thing to me over the years, it's that they know how to do this, and they know how to do it well. See the previously mentioned. But I'll admit, as someone who hasn't played the Rome mobile port, I had quite a few questions and concerns about how a Total War game would work on a touchscreen, as I'm sure most of you do too. So strap in, and let's explore Total War Medieval 2 for iOS. And I guess it's on Android too. And lastly, a quick disclaimer, I was provided a review code for this video. As with my other reviews of mainline games ported to mobile, I'm going to get into the technical and performance details first, as that's the most pertinent information most people are looking for. After all, in Medieval 2's case, you've been able to read reviews on its content for nearly 20 years. God, I feel old saying that. Did I really play this game when I was 11? Anyway, despite making me feel like I've got one foot in the grave, Medieval 2's age is a positive regarding its performance on mobile devices. It's not nearly as demanding as something like the XCOM 2 port, or even a native mobile game like, say, COD Mobile, or Fortnite even. I tested it on both a 2017 iPad Pro and an iPhone 13 Pro Max, and performance ranged from great on the iPhone to just good on the iPad. Despite the original game having system requirements befitting a mid-tier 2006 PC, the aging iPad was clearly struggling here a bit. It was locked to 30 FPS and button prompts would often have a short delay. It also took a bit longer to load and turn times were also a bit longer. On the iPhone, however, it was smooth and responsive, with 60 frames per second being standard unless you flick on the game's battery saver mode. Which you may want to do, as being such a large and complex title, it absolutely chews through battery otherwise, and it also led to both devices feeling like they'd just been pulled out of a volcano. My poor iPad was showing its age in terms of battery health, that's for sure. As for visual quality, it's clearly been nerfed on the iPad thanks to its older chipset and comparative lack of processing power. The bigger screen probably didn't help either, with the smaller one of the iPhone helping to mask some of its imperfections. But even blown up here to the same size, you can see the difference. Even then though, Medieval 2 looks pretty good, all things considered. Yes, the unit textures suffer on low-end devices, but it's not that often that you'll be zoomed that far in anyway. But you will almost certainly notice the horrendous shadow pop-in on weaker hardware, which, yes, it's pretty rough. But besides that, the overworld map looks great, and when you're overlooking a battle, those previously mentioned imperfections just tend to fade away. And as for what hardware you'll need to play yourself, there is a compatibility list on Feral's Medieval 2 microsite. Any recent-ish mid to high-end Android should be fine, and for Apple devices it's anything that runs iOS 15, which is a massive range of devices. Though playing this on a 6-year-old first-gen iPhone SE with a 4-inch touchscreen sounds like some kind of hell. The gameplay portion of this review is going to be focused mostly on how it pertains to playing on mobile devices, since the core game, as mentioned, is nothing new. Everything is as it was back in the 2000s, except for the Kingdom's expansion, which has not been included, but it is apparently coming later this year. But yeah, otherwise this is the classic Total War that you know and love. If you haven't played one of these earlier entries, then you might find some features lacking if you're used to modern examples like Warhammer or Three Kingdoms. But it's overall still quite similar. You've got your turn-based overworld map with city, army and economy management, mixed with massive real-time battles where you lead hundreds of troops to victory or death. Available modes are also the same here, with grander campaigns, historical battles, and custom skirmishes all being available. So the only difference is your input device. Instead of a keyboard and mouse, you've got your fingers. Although funnily enough, the game does actually support keyboard and mouse controls on the iPad, but unfortunately I don't have the right peripherals to test that myself. The UI has obviously seen massive changes to accommodate the new input method, and I'm stunned at how great a job Feral has done in making it not only be usable, but also kind of intuitive. It's not perfect by any means, and we'll get into that soon, and I do recommend you play through the tutorial to get a hang of things, but considering this started as a PC game with over 100 different button options spread across 2 individual peripherals available for controls, it's pretty astounding. Flying around the overworld is easy enough. It's mostly a mix of one finger drag, tap and hold for interacting and tooltips, and the odd double tap for menus and such. Before playing, I was concerned mostly about controls, and while I wasn't so worried about the 2D overworld, I definitely was for the 3D battles. And in some ways, those worries were misplaced, and in others, they absolutely weren't. Let's start with the good. First, moving the camera around is intuitive, it's quick and it's super easy. While there's no way to zoom in while maintaining a top-down view, which is a shame, zooming, rotating and panning all feel great using 1 or 2 fingers. The same goes for selecting bulk units on the battlefield with a tap, hold and drag. That's basically where the positives end though, because everything else ranges from inconvenient to infuriating. The former are things like touch targets being way too small, especially on iPhone, where something as crucial as selecting different units from their cards turns into a tedious exercise of selecting and unselecting ones you've hit or missed by accident. Or how when you command a unit on the map, you select another unit by accident instead of issuing an order to the original. Or how sometimes you'll order a unit to move next to an enemy rather than order them to attack, just to name a few. These are annoying, but can be mostly worked out just through practice and getting more precise with your actions. The more annoying examples though are more inherent to how the controls have been implemented. The main offender for me are unit formations, which is supposed to be done by tapping and holding with 2 fingers, then pinching and rotating to get them facing the right direction with the spread you want. But no matter how many times I tried, I just couldn't get it the way I wanted to, especially on iPhone, as your fingers cover the preview you're looking at to make sure it's accurate. And another bad one is trying to select units when they've been bunched up in battle. If there's a few, it's hard to get the right one you want, and you just have to end up resorting to guessing from the unit bar until you get the right one. All these add up to make the game's real-time battles much more of an annoyance than they should be. And to be honest, most of the time I ended up just using auto-resolve from the overworld because I couldn't be bothered trying to navigate them. I will say it was better on iPad thanks to the much larger screen. But even then, taking part in a battle meant I was putting the game speed down and really focusing on not mistapping a unit or giving an incorrect order. And that leads me to where I had the most fun with Medieval 2 on iOS, which was the overworld inside the grand campaigns. Honestly, this is most suited to mobile. No time pressure, no tiny touch targets to hit, no 3D camera, just high level, turn-based strategy with a fairly simple UI that's intuitive and easy to use. 90% of the time, the real-time battles, for me at least, were either too stressful, too irritating, or too disheartening to enjoy. Yes, there were some where everything just fell into place and I landed a victory, but they were the exception, not the norm. And I guess that leads us pretty well into our conclusion. The question of whether you should play Medieval 2 on mobile is a weird one, because on the one hand I can't stop thinking about how if anyone is actually asking for this, and who Feral sees as the target market for an old, niche PC strategy game released into a world where games like Fortnite, COD Mobile, and Apex dominate the mobile space. Though I guess there's an audience they're going for. They wouldn't have gone ahead with Medieval 2 if their previous Total War port in Rome was a failure. It's obviously a big brain move that's beyond me, but that's okay. I'm just here to review the game, not mull over its business sense. So with that, should you play Medieval 2 on iOS? And really, who's it for? Well, I would say for the majority, this isn't the game for you. Unless you played Medieval 2 or another Total War game, and you just need it, absolutely need it to have on the go, there are likely better options for some complex strategy games on your phone or tablet. Honestly, you'd do well looking at the rest of Feral's catalogue of mobile ports. Company of Heroes and XCOM 2 come to mind as fantastic games that translate pretty darn well to mobile, especially on an iPad. But for some of you watching this, playing Total War's addictive turn-based campaigns on the go might be something you're interested in. And I'll admit, I did have quite a lot of fun doing so myself. It's just the real-time battles that dragged it down for me. But if you stick to the overworld, auto-resolve most of the battles, or at least turn the difficulty way down, and play it a bit like a Civilization or Paradox game, you could have quite a bit of fun here, I think. Total War Medieval 2 for mobile is available for $15 on both iOS and Android, and it's available on April 7th, about one day from when this video goes live. So if you're thinking about playing Medieval 2 on mobile, or have done so already, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And consider supporting me on YouTube memberships or Patreon. You can join legends like T-Edits, Crispy Robo Chicken, Nutty Jawa, Overlord Jeebus, David DeBoye, Crizzy218, Dakayo, and Standby for Systems Nominal, who supports me at the Paladin tier. Thanks again. And again, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.